Welcome to the Zill Life podcast, where we explore the creative journey through the lens of fashion, culture, and the stories that shape us. I'm your host, Demyah.
And I'm Corinea.
Let's get into it.
Okay, let's start. Hey, girl.
Hey, girl.
What's going on? We're back for season 2.
Are we doing our kiss this
Oh my gosh,
season?
yes. Put on camera so we can see. Yes.
Period.
Okay. We're in season 2.
We're in season 2. We did it.
I know, it's amazing.
We're podcasters.
I know. Season 2, season 1 went really well.
Mm-hmm.
Thank everybody who tuned in and peeped in. We're here for season 2 to bring more conversations, more good talk, more talking about the world. We talked about it a little bit before we got on camera. I had an existential crisis.
She did. When she get into it, she get into it.
We were talking before this, and I was like, "Why?" During this episode, if I rant, please cut me off. Please.
I'll try, but my girl, when she get going, it's going. Like,
oh my gosh! But we're entering the summer, which we're at this weird transitional period where the weather is still spring showers, all that type of stuff. But what summer shoe are you gonna get? What summer shoe are you interested in?
I'm really interested in the silhouette, the ballerina silhouettes.
Ooh,
I know that's been a trend, but I must say I had started wearing the silhouette at least a year and a half, 2 years ago. Yes. I started getting into the ballerina. Yes, I just love that. I have my speed cats on right now, and I know that's not your traditional summer shoe because I'm just not an open toe girly. I've never really been.
I'm trying to be.
You are. If I can find, and you can put me on, if I can find a sandal or something that is open toe that it works with my look and my style, I'll go for it. But they sometimes are just too feminine or something too feminine about them that doesn't work for me. But yeah, what's your shoe?
I think so. Havaianas are just really having a moment right now.
Yes.
They just dropped a collab earlier this year with Isabel Marant, and it's the thong flip flop type of sandal is in. It reminds me of when my mom used to go to Old Navy during the summer. Yeah. And they used to get $1.
Oh my God. And they would just rack up on all the Old Navy. You would get one in every color. Every color. Those little foam flip flops.
They were $1 at Old Navy, and it was a wall just color theory down. Just organized down. And I remember being a child.
I love that.
It'd be $1. It was my mom used to go and get every single color. That Libra did not play. But I think Havaianas, I do want to do more open toe. There's a Melissa jelly shoe.
Okay.
That's buttered yellow, and then there's a lime green color that I've had my eyes on.
Ooh.
But I really, really want. I truly, truly want. And I think I want them because remember when Fenty had flip flops, and I didn't get them.
Okay, so this
and
time.
You know where I work. You know where I work, and they were there. You know where I work. They were there.
Damn.
I was in New York, and I said, not right now.
Damn.
I was not right now. Came back to Atlanta, gone, sold out. I kicked myself so much.
And you ain't got the link.
It's gone, baby. It's gone.
You don't know the.
Damn. I don't know the people. But it's gone. Once the shoe is gone,
they're out. Sold out. Nothing.
They're out, and I was this close to calling time. I almost called Times Square. Not almost. I did.
Times Square.
Yeah. the whole location. I called it. I called Times Square. It said, "Send me the shoes." They told me we're out. So I was mad about that. But I'm gonna get them to replace my love for the Fenty ones.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah,
that's fair.
That's what I'm currently into.
Cute.
So yeah, but besides that, what's your Zill for the week?
Ooh. My Zill has to be Devil Wears Prada 2 that came out. We actually went to see it together.
We did.
I loved it. It was a really good sequel. And so I am a Devil Wears Prada fan down. The first one it's one of my favorite, I would say top 5 movies that I love. And so when they first announced that they were going to do a sequel, I really wasn't that invested only because this generation just don't be doing sequels the way they
do
should.
not.
It's just,
They do not.
and sometimes you just gotta let it live. Like some things do not need a part 2, a sequel. You just need to let it live. So I didn't really have high hopes for it, but I was very impressed by what they did.
It was good.
There was a lot of conversation happening in the film, which I appreciated. Now I have to say there will be a few spoilers. By the time this first episode comes out, if you have not seen it by now, I don't
I can't help you. I can't help you. I can't help you. Because by this time it should be on the TV. And
it should, right.
The HD version should be on the bootleg website. So like you should have been watching it by now if you really wanted to. If you really had that desire, that motivation, you would watch that. Okay, so I can't help you with spoilers.
That said, it opens with Andy and her team being laid off. Yes. They obviously are journalists. This is 2026 at this point, and it just starts with this conversation around them being laid off. And I thought that was such a strong point to start with because it's speaking to the larger conversation of where we are within technology, within fashion. And it broke my heart too because it's the reality of writers. As a fellow writer, I went to school for writing, and thank God in some ways the way I shaped my creativity, my career, I've been able to kind of pivot and still utilize my writing skills and communication skills. But that is, you definitely have to have the gift of pivoting and being able to kind of keep up with what's happening if you have some of these traditional, credentials.
Yeah.
And so what I appreciate about the first version is that you really get an insight into how important writers, journalists were, the credibility and the reverence for journalists during that time. So powerful to see that in 2006. So then to fast forward to 2026 and see that they're just laying them off. Like they're just.
And I feel like right before watching it, we just saw a magazine layoff. Yes. Like I can't. I'm not gonna quote because there's so many.
There's so many.
I think it was Face.
Just name one.
Yeah, I think it was Face. I think Face was around that time. But we talked about it when we were in the movie afterwards, and I said that I thought I wasn't going to like Devil Wears Prada.
Yeah.
Just because of how they were commercializing the merchandise. I was like, okay, they're clearly just selling themselves for anything. And then like the background of how hard like Prada fought to be in the movie, I'm like, okay, clearly this is going to be a movie centered around fashion placement, right? I knew that walking into it. So for me, I thought it was going to be very like commercial and just, I don't want to say weird, there's a better word for that, but just not authentic, which is what you got on the first one, which is why when you talk about sequels, that's the issue I have with sequels, is because they try to recreate a moment, and that's not how moments happen.
Let it live, yeah.
You either are or you're not. Yeah. Like, you can't just create this. But to your point, when they started off the movie with them getting laid off, I said, okay, hold on. You guys may actually be here to have a conversation about something.
Yes. And they did. They had several conversations. I mean, they didn't have all the conversations I would have liked to see, but I don't know that is the space. When I say that, a lot of these layoffs disproportionately impact Black women, people of color. That's something they weren't going to touch on, right? But overall, the conversation was had. They also touched on the infiltration of the finance world and the tech world coming into fashion, and how that plays into where we are right now, and the investors coming in, and how they're kind of commodifying fashion in a way, and they were having those conversations. They were talking about so many different things from this generation. It was a generational piece when you think about it, because we have the assistant who is coming in. She's representing the Gen Z generation, and then Andy in some ways is representing the millennial, and then we have Miranda Priestley who's representing the boomer sort of generation, and how do these worlds now kind of come together when it relates to fashion technology? Miranda is feeling a way about how she is almost being phased out in a way, and wants to keep legacy and keep the reverence of print magazines and writing. And Andy's that middle ground where she has learned how to almost finesse both, and she's really hanging on to the traditional aspect of magazines and writing, but she's starting to learn and open up to the world that's happening around her. And then we have the Gen Z assistant, very small part, but she's kind of like a peek into the future of like where we're going. And so they have bridged so many different conversations in the film, and I think that's what made it a great watch.
Yeah, there's like some moments within the film that I think about often, because you're more of a magazine connoisseur than I am. Let me tell you guys.
She loves some magazine.
I love a magazine too, but you're on a different level than I am. Like you're on a different level than me. But I love a magazine, and when I read them recently, I was thinking about the conversation that, what's her name, Emily? Like, who worked for Dior? Her name was Emily in the movie? I know her name is Emily Blunt. So I don't know if I don't know what her name is in the show.
Oh, in the show.
But Emily Blunt or whatever. When they go to Dior and she essentially says, without ads, a magazine is nothing, baby.
Listen.
Because we are magazine connoisseurs, I have Vogue magazines I have September issues for like 20 years ago, 10 years ago. So looking at this magazine now versus at that point and opening it and seeing how many ads are in both and the difference between the two. You open up a Vogue magazine, you open up any fashion magazine, you're not going to get, I'll say, hell, excuse my language, the table of contents until at least page 50.
Listen.
At least I'm not joking. Page 75 is when you get real words that come together and mean something.
Ooh, don't get me started.
It's just ads in the beginning. It's nothing but ads after ads after ads. So when she said that, or going back to when Andy was complaining in that scene, and she was like, I'm used to writing about what people need to hear. And the assistant's like, can't you write about people want? And she was like, yeah, but she was like, can't you do both? Like, can't you figure out how to do both? And I'm like, that's what writing is now.
That's what it is. That's what art is. And we have this conversation because I think it speaks to the larger sort of, when we talk about creativity and how we have to show up now. Even having this podcast, we have to both be able to be clickable, something that people want to click on and be interested in, something that's almost trendy in a way. So we have to, when we're coming up and producing content, we are thinking about what are people going to want to hear?
Yes.
What do they, but then we also have to have some depth. Like we have to have some value.
Because we're us.
Because we're us.
Some people don't have that.
Yes.
People don't want that.
Yes.
But we're us. So it's like, no, I want you to actually walk away with something
you have
as well.
I want you to learn something. I want you to feel us. I want you to feel connected. So the art and craft of it is being able to do both. It's being able to show up as ourselves authentically, for us to also talk about things we want people to take away, but also having to then do that in this world and space where everything is about clicks.
Yes.
You know?
Like, you almost got to put the whole podcast in different TikTok clips. Like, it's gotta put the whole podcast.
Literally.
Because converting people is just so much more difficult now.
Let's talk about that.
Converting people is so much more difficult, but it all links back to the tech aspect of it all.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So, just to wrap up with The Devil Wears Prada, because this all falls into the same conversation around fashion and tech. It's all married together. But yes, go see the film if you are. Well, at this point, it's going to be on your TVs. You can stream it.
Like, who owns it? Disney?
But when you are looking at the film, really pay attention to those cues and those larger conversations. And for me, I'm thinking about, it's going to be very interesting on where we see this going another 10, 20 years from now. What will that conversation look like as it relates to journalists, media enthusiasts, people who have worked in this field? Where will we be in 20 years?
Because we're writing and we're doing these type of things, we are so close to it. So we're the ones that are actually paying attention. Like, you know me, I have an Excel. This may sound crazy, but I have an Excel sheet of all of the interesting news that I see daily. Wake up, read all the articles, and I have an Excel sheet that goes day by day of this is an article, this is the summary, this is what I liked about it.
This girl's crazy.
But
in the best way.
It's the research of it all, because then when one thing happens, I'm like, hold on, that's connected to something that I saw in February.
Man,
let me go back to February and like, because it's all about like tracking patterns and doing this whole type of stuff, and that's what can make us feel crazy. That's what can make me feel like, oh my gosh, why does nobody else see this? And I'm like, oh, Corinea, nobody else has an Excel sheet. They're trying.
But we need forecasters. We need forecasters like you. We need people who are paying attention to those patterns, because that's the research. That's the data. Who's doing the research?
Yeah.
Karina Austin. That's who. Coco.
I'm the one up at 6 before work looking at articles. Reading.
So you don't have to. Yes. But yeah, what has your Zoom?
Same conversation.
Yeah.
Really. We're gonna have a whole 40 minutes about tech just because it's so important. So also, quick plug, Maya wrote a great article about the Devil Wears Prada too, so go look at that. And then what I really want to talk about is this marriage between fashion and tech and this union. So when we look at technology is like one of the biggest sectors that like pushes everything along, pushes the world along, pushes society along. And because I care about fashion, I'm going to say that it pushes fashion along the most, right? We can look at music, like we just talked about before this, how tech has really redefined music. It's also redefined fashion. I think it redefines the arts, and this union and this marriage, we can really just track it back and go back to how tech has revolutionized fashion. So we really first see it when we look at the invention of the sewing machine. Yeah. So beforehand, if you guys didn't know, before a sewing machine came along, in 1847, I believe, that's when we first see the first sewing machine. Before then, women were sewing everything by hand. Right? There was this thing called like the cottage industry, which kind of is like the manufacturing industry, but it's like all houses and stuff like that. People were just sending fabrics to like your home and saying, make this really quickly. And then the merchants would pick it up and they would take it to wherever they wanted to take it to, whoever bought it. But women were sewing by hand. And it's hard on the hand. If anybody has hand sewn, it's hard on your hands. Calluses are crazy. You're going to poke yourself. You're going to bleed. It's a very rigorous activity. So essentially, the man who made the first overlock machine saw his wife doing it and was like, they were in poverty. Like, because if you're hand sewing, you're poor. Like, you're poor. Because if not, you would just have somebody make it for you. Like, at that time. They still had tailors. Yeah. So, like, you're poor. And I don't mean to say it like that, but that's what's happening. Yeah. So then, of course, he wanted money. So he was like, I can find a solution to this, which he makes the overlock machine. From that point, Isaac Singer comes in and makes the first domestic home machine, the Singer, right? So from this first, like, union that we see in this first marriage and like a honeymoon phase that we see between tech and fashion, what it did is it not only was about the process, because I think tech is more like when you talk about magazines and even looking at Devil Wears Prada, tech is a very heavy industry, I guess, if you could say it like that. It's not very sympathetic. Like, it's not an industry that cares about feelings and, oh my God, arts and crafts and blah, blah, blah. Right. What do you want to do? It cares about process. What is easier, what's convenient, what will give me the most money. So, of course, it's going to have that aspect of it. But with the sewing machine, it kind of opened up how people were able to consume fashion. Because if we think about it, first you're hand sewing, which is very rigorous, and then you're able to have a sewing machine, which makes it easier, which now you can start to see fashion as something that's more enjoyable. Yeah. So that that brain switch and that change that you start to experience is what you need for the industry to propel itself forward.
Yeah.
Like you need that. You need people to not see it as something that's hard and like, oh, I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
For it to move forward. And I think when you look at tech, I think that's a common fact that people miss with tech and how tech influences things. You need to think about the mental shift that the people interacting are going to have.
When you're coming about this research and you're seeing these patterns and you're calling that out, right? How are you non-judgmental? Are you coming at it in a way of like, this is just what's happening, or are you like, this is wrong or this is right? Because when I hear that it used to be rigorous, we are in the weeds of it, women are using their hands, right? And then technology switches and it starts to progress and it becomes more enjoyable. It's a little bit less stressful. And you said there's that switch. With that switch, there's a convenience there that I think we experience with every technological shift. There's a shift that happens where it's like, oh, there's a burden that's lifted. Do you see that as a positive? Are you coming at it like, great, finally, we don't have to do this anymore? And then to your point, how far?
How far does it go? That's how far does it go? Because it's like, okay, I try not to be biased with labeling things.
Okay.
I really do try. I try to be more of the observant person.
Yeah.
Of course, I have my own personal opinion, which I'm about to state in a second. But when I research and when I look at these patterns, because even thinking of the mental shift that it takes, it's one of those things that I don't think other people notice. Because if I'm going down the timeline and I see how things progress, there has to be a mental shift here. Like people have to see something differently in order to create this innovation or in order to move forward in this way. And I think right now, when we talk about AI, when we talk about I think the internet did a lot more damage than it did good.
Really? Hot take. Okay.
Okay, so hold on. We're gonna get into that.
I'm like, get into it. Let's get into it. This is why we're here.
So after the sewing machine, you have the tech revolution, the industrial revolution. That's when we get ready to wear. That's when you get standardized sizing. That's when now department stores are able to be open, and that's then the second industrial revolution is fashion as we know it, the foundation. Right, but with that, on the opposite hand, you have the laborers. So you have these people that are suffering because of this technological advance. You have seamstresses that are working. Think about the Triangle Fire in New York. Like now you have these sweatshops as a result of technology, right? Because you combine technology with the revolution with capitalism. Crazy combo.
Right,
Crazy combo. And fashion is the easiest way to get it out.
Yeah.
Right? Because that's also when we start to see seasonal fashion change and people catalogs. The Industrial Revolution did so much. So much. And I think because it did so much, you have this negative side effect and you see how it harms people in a way. Let's go to the internet. So one of the reasons that I think the internet may have done a little bit more harm than good is based around convenience.
Yeah.
I think a part of us needs to be inconvenient for growth. I truly think that. I think a part of you has to be, everything cannot be at your fingertips.
Yeah.
And you think you're going to grow.
Yeah.
Because if we take a step back and we think about the internet within digital fashion, amazing, great, whatever, it did a lot for digital fashion and it just created digital fashion.
Yeah.
But let's think about all of the magazines. Let's think about brick and mortar stores. Let's think about even direct mailing catalogs. Let's think about that. It eliminated so much, and it makes you beg the question, at what cost?
At what cost?
At what cost? Because then we get into AI, and this is why the internet gave us AI.
Yeah.
And I don't think AI is good.
Yeah, I agree with you as it relates to the internet. I think, because I explored this a little bit in the piece you talked about, the Devil Wears Prada piece. When we talk about the internet, and when we say, of course, there's the good, the bad, the ugly, all those things. One thing that I realized it did, though, that we cannot ignore is that it made a lot of these spaces accessible. And when I say that, I'm talking about we have, and this is coming from someone who has a degree and credential when it comes to writing, journalism, all of those things, which I still revere. So when I say this, I'm coming from that standpoint, but I have to be honest in that I came from a space where I didn't know exactly how I could access a world like that. But then when you have the internet come and you get exposed to these different blogs, and the world starts to blend together, and the classism starts to collapse on itself, because now the elites who are, we have these degrees, and we have these credentials and all these things, well, it's becoming less important. It takes away a bit of that power, and that could be positive in some way. Excuse me, it's negative in some ways because the layoffs and all of those things. But then there's an accessibility component that comes with the internet, where now we have regular people who maybe couldn't afford a degree, who maybe didn't have that route, can get on a microphone, or they can, write an article. They have the information, or they have the tools in order to get the information or their thoughts, their creativity out there to build a career, whether we can say it's reverenced or not, or whether it's credible or not, or whatever. People are doing it, and we're not going to get into what's really going on right now, because I know who you're thinking about right now. I don't know if we want to say the name or not, but these are conversations that are happening, right? And so there's an accessibility component there that, someone like Kai Cenat can come out and become a streamer, and now he's making millions of dollars and all of these things. So the internet has also kind of collapsed itself in terms of classism, and allowed people who maybe wouldn't have had the opportunity to be a millionaire to now have that opportunity to create,
Yes. And to play devil's advocate for a minute, is that worth the bad? Like, is that
accessibility?
Yes. Is accessibility in that context worth everything else that comes with it? Because yes, I agree. I think that's the great thing that the internet did. It allowed us to access these communities and these people that we wouldn't have. But then it makes me think, on the opposite end, what it did is now you don't have community at your house. Like, yes, you should be able to share your like minds with people, but then from that we get the manosphere. So would you have rather just went out in the streets and figured out a club to get into, or something like that, to access those people versus the internet? Because even I think the internet did good. Like, I'm not saying it didn't.
Yeah.
I think it did good. I'm clearly on it. I'm clearly doing stuff with the internet, so I need it.
Yeah.
So I don't want to disregard that aspect of it, and even the classism aspect of it, where you're saying people are able to go to different tax brackets with, not, I don't want to say low effort, because it does take a lot of effort. But they're able to go to different tax brackets easily. Unlike when you look at maybe like a China or something like that, and how hard it is for them. Because once you're born into a farmer family, you're born there, baby. And that's it for you. Like, you're not going nowhere else unless there's school involved. And then they're able to climb the ranks. So yeah, I understand that and I get that. But
I'm with you. I'm just throwing out the the other side too.
Because there is another side. There is another side. Like, you know me, I'll be on my soapbox for hours. There is another side. I'm just like, the internet gave us AI, and the issue that I have with tech and fashion right now, and the whole point of this conversation, is really centered around when is enough enough?
Yeah.
Like, when does the fashion industry, when do the people in the fashion industry say, this is too much?
Mm-hmm.
We're going a little too far here. And when we talk about AI, to me, AI is that standpoint where we're like, all right, y'all, we need to stand up real quick. We got to stay on our 10 toes and say this is too much.
Yeah.
Because before we were talking about how Google just announced that, well, it's probably done by now, but Google announced that they were changing their search engine.
Yeah.
And it's going to be more of like the Chat GPT conversation. I see people talking about that, but I do not think anybody realized how much that is going to redefine the internet and how we consume and how we do literally everything. When I talk about those small mental shifts, that's a very, it can seem small, but that's going to have a huge effect on how we interact with websites from this point on, which means fashion websites, because we even had this conversation of what happens to the paywall. Because if Google can just pull things from something that's behind the paywall, what's the point of a paywall? SEO. How are we finding new brands? How are we finding links? How are we finding all of these things now?
So the new way, from my understanding, and again, by this time it comes out, there's going to be more information for us. But from my understanding, when it comes to these things, it's switching from this SEO to now we're optimizing for GEO. And so some of those same, standards and how we are writing articles and getting the information out there, some of that foundational stuff will be there, but it's going to kind of evolve into a different standard in how AI optimizes and indexes that content. So when it comes into the search, we're not going to get those blue links. Listen, we get to choose which link. Oh, I want to hear what Vogue has to say. I want to hear what New York Times has to say. Right. It's not going to do that. It's going to synthesize that information, and it's going to have these footnotes and citations similar to what we kind of see now, where you kind of see the bubbles of like where they source the content. Now it's the competitive piece of it now is that we, as the media people who are writing and putting the content out there, are now going to have to optimize for that when we are writing content. Before it was with SEO, before it's like, okay, now we need to see what people are searching for. It's going to be that times 10, because now we have to index our articles a specific way. We have to have certain, links, quotations. There's going to be a standard to which AI is going to train us to now compete for those citation links within the AI indexes.
But we probably don't know right now.
Yeah.
I want to see if it is confirmed that Google is actually going to leave the citation. That's my biggest thing.
Yeah.
Because when we look at like a Chat GPT, or we look at like a Claude or any of those type of conversational things, it's just you asking the question and then spitting it out to you. They're not telling you where it's from.
And I also think with you saying that, it's going to take us as a consumer to train. We have to understand the power we have when it comes to the relationship with AI too.
Yeah.
We can be anti, fine, don't use it. But if you're going to use it, there is going to be a responsibility to how we're going to show up and use AI. So if you want your sources when you are Googling, show me where these sources are from. Let's train it to do what we need it to do, so that we don't lose those foundational, that data, that information.
Yeah, because that's my biggest thing. Because I'm like, as I think about it, I think maybe a Claude does have those little citation links.
Yeah.
I think they do. But it's like the mental shift of now you have to do an extra click. And we know how much people don't try to do extra clicks.
People don't want to click.
We talk about converting people. They don't like to do those extra clicks.
Yeah.
So it's really, just to like wrap up it all, because we could go on for this for hours. It's really how is tech shifting fashion as a whole? When we talk about media, when we talk about designers, when we talk about brands, because now if I think about it, without those links, it's going to be harder for you to actually connect with the brand. Or are we just finding them via social media? Like this, tech and fashion, this union and this marriage, I feel like it's a very tumultuous one, and tech benefits off of fashion's back so much, because we look at these fashion the fashion oligarchy that we currently have, and how they're front row on runway shows.
Yeah.
Why is Mark here?
Yeah.
Why is Mark here? And then to look at a Jeff who's sponsoring the Met Gala, which is completely different. I've seen so many people. I love how I said wrap it up. We're on a different tangent. I see so many people talk about how Amazon sponsored the Met Gala.
Mm-hmm.
So why would we have a issue when it comes to Jeff? There's a difference between, not to say the Amazon piece was wrong, but the fact that they have two should automatically be like, this is a weird alliance.
Yeah.
But the actual person is a different type of alliance and allegiance. So then to see that, and then to see the articles that came out afterwards, and it's essentially like, I don't want to say troll bait, but it's essentially like rage bait of people saying, oh, what his girlfriend had on really made people upset.
Y'all, really, don't get distracted.
Those articles piss me off so much. Because it's like, or even seeing all these celebrities talk about AI and how we need to use AI. Clearly you have a stake in it. Clearly you stop trying to. All right. Yeah. So tech and fashion, crazy world. I really want fashion to stand up and say no. Yeah. Like I truly, truly want a strike. I don't know what that looks like. I could be a part of it, but y'all let me know what we need to do, and I'll be tapped in.
Right. Love that. The premise of this conversation, not only just about fashion and tech, but we also want, as you know, we're here. This podcast is about the creative at its core.
Yes.
You know, so fashion is a part of that. And as we talk about these different art medias, we have to talk about who's creating them. What are they dealing with? What are they going through? And a big piece of having to create is having to be vulnerable. Yes. And that's how we land here. And I'm glad we're having this conversation because vulnerability has been I have such a love-hate relationship with it as a Black woman, as a Black creator, as a Black queer creator. You know, there's so many aspects of ourselves, of myself, that I feel I have to mask or have to perform or have to protect.
Yes.
In this world, you know, how much do we share? We have so many conversations around what we protect as Black people, as women, as queer, all these different intersectional identities that we have to understand about ourselves. And so with that, we have to talk about vulnerability. We have to talk about the other side and what the pressures are to put yourself out there.
So hard.
It's so hard.
It's so difficult. And it's when we speak on like vulnerability and like what that means. I love how, hold on, pause for a second, you guys. I love how we started talking and my voice got real soft. I was just yelling.
Oh, you had some water? I'm gonna get some water.
I was just yelling. Voice got real soft. Okay. But I just love with vulnerability, with putting yourself out there as an artist, you feel so connected to your work. And you feel so like you've spent hours doing this thing, hours. And that vulnerability that really is just about like trying and being yourself and putting that out for the world. It can be difficult.
It's hard.
It is.
Do you think within vulnerability, you can even come from your experience even, do you think the world, social media, whoever, do you think it rewards vulnerability? Fashion rewards vulnerability? Do you think the art world rewards vulnerability, or is it punished?
Oh, that's a good question. That's a really great question. Do I think it rewards or punishes? I don't know, because I want to say it rewards. I do think that. I do think in the sense of if you keep trying.
Yeah.
If you keep doing, if you keep going, if you keep doing that, I think it eventually rewards you.
Yeah.
But we go back to the conversation we had on season 1. What does that reward look like to you?
Yeah.
What do you register as a reward? And then also, do you need the reward? Yeah. Like, does it does it matter if they reward or punish you, or are you just creating something for yourself? Like, are you just trying to do and just live? Because it could be bad to some people. If we'll be honest, like, it could be bad to some people, but does it matter?
Yeah.
Like, does that actually matter?
That's a good point.
If you're being true to yourself, because I think the perception, which we'll get into later, is a really big factor. But I'm like, I'm always trying to figure out, this is my question to you. How do you first get over that hurdle of trying? Like, how do you first get over that hurdle of putting yourself out there? Yeah, let's start there.
Yeah,
let's start there. How do you first get over that?
That's a great question. And I think that's the conversation, right? Is like, how do you, I think first and foremost, what first came to mind is like, we cannot, and something I learned that I do is I intellectualize a lot of things. Like before I'm about to start a project,
you do that.
I
you do that.
I intellectualize, and I think if you're like me, something I'm having to learn is to get out of my head and get into the work and action of it all. And just, I think the thing about vulnerability is that it is uncomfortable.
It is.
And that's a part of the restraints from it. That's why we don't want to confront it. It feels icky, it feels uncomfortable, it feels like we're being exposed. That's quite literally what it represents. And so when we are feeling vulnerable, we run from it. But if we want to grow, if we have to, what you just said, if we know, if we first need to understand what is the purpose, what is the why do you want to do this thing, what is it that you would hope it pours back into you, and with that,
that's the question.
What is that look like for you? And in doing so, you have to be willing to confront what it's going to take to do that. And it is going to require a bit of vulnerability. It's going to require you to put yourself out there. That's the discomfort of it all. And being uncomfortable is what's going to allow you to grow. It's going to shape you. It's going to mold you into whatever that end goal is.
Yes.
And so for me, it's doing my best to get out of my mind and know that if this is what I want to do, if this is the end goal for me, this quite literally is what it's going to take in order to acquire that. And so you have to be willing at the end of the day to get uncomfortable.
I agree.
There's no way around it.
As you were talking, it makes me think about this Tracy Ellis Ross post, because I'm gonna quote her at least one season.
Yeah.
At least once a season, I'm gonna quote my girl. And she was talking about
Tracy down.
When she does her planning and when she does her dreams, she does it and she says, but you have to understand, you're gonna have to do the work to get there. So you could dream as big as you want to. Please dream as big as you want to. Do what you want to do. But you also have to realize that you have to do the work to get there. So starting off small is how you do it. And I guess the advice that I would give and even honestly with writing, this is a great example.
Yeah.
With writing for me, I'm new to writing. It's something that I've always explored, like in the past, but for last year, before I started writing under my name, I wrote hidden. Like I was doing hidden articles. Like I was just writing.
Yeah.
Like I was just practicing and I was just writing because it felt so vulnerable to me. Because just words not making sense, people can know. Yeah. Like that's nothing that you can hide behind. If it don't make sense, it don't make sense, baby. If the word is misspelled, the word is misspelled.
Yeah.
And when I was doing it for myself and nobody knew about it, I was writing under a pseudonym and I was going to town. And from that aspect, I slowly started to become comfortable with the skill.
Yeah.
I was still new to it. I'm still in classes about it, y'all. Like, I just took a grammar class.
Yeah.
Literally was like, actually, I need to get my grammar up. I need to understand a sentence structure better. I started from scratch. And that's a vulnerable moment. That's a very vulnerable thing to do, is to even admit that this skill that I have, I need to hone in on it and I need to practice it. So in the midst of it, I hid the fact that I was writing and that I was taking these classes, for the fact that it's like, girl, you don't know what a sentence structure is. Like, you don't know what that is. But it's different because it's trying to understand the craft as a whole, and how we put these words together to get people to understand the meaning, or get people to how does talking translate into writing. But when I say that starting off vulnerable is, everybody does it, especially when they're trying something new that they've never done. It's a great feeling to have, because you feel, with vulnerability, to me, you feel connected to the work. Yeah. You feel very deeply connected to it, which is a good thing. So if you feel vulnerable about something, you should actually go do it. That should be your push to go do more of it. And what I can say is that start off hitting. Start off behind closed doors, doing it under a fake social media platform, and just get used to the act of making something, putting it out there. Putting it out there, and then transfer it over.
I love that advice, because I get questions often around being any sort of talent, whether that be creator, influencer, and so a part of what people say is, or aspiring creators, talent models, is I'm nervous to get in front of the camera, or I'm nervous to speak, or what people are gonna say, XYZ. And so that's a really good advice, because I'm always telling them, create for yourself first. Create for yourself first. Record the videos. Let them live on your phone. Upload them to the drafts and let them sit there for a minute. Continue to do that until you feel confident and comfortable within yourself. Yeah. Because building that muscle, that is important. Those are great things that you just shared. Building that muscle is very important, because at the end of the day, you have to be comfortable with yourself. You have to. Because once you start putting things out there, the world is going to try to shift and shape and tell you what to think, or that's not good, or that isn't how you're supposed to do that. And you've already done the vulnerable thing, and you're feeling exposed. But if you can have a place to rest and say, well, I know at the end of the day, you can come home to yourself, and of course the support system would be nice as well, then you're on your way. You're on your way. And also understanding that we all deal with that. That also helps me to understand, this is not a Demyah thing. This is not a Corinea thing. This is a human thing. We all have. If you are here living, trying to create something, trying to make an impact, whatever that looks like for you, you're going to be experiencing this to some level.
Yes, I can agree.
And what I'm seeing is that the people who tend to be, that I connect with, artists like Kendrick, Doechii, Beyonce, Issa Rae, just to name a few, when I look at their career, Tiana Taylor, just to name a few, these are people who have been consistently vulnerable. They've been vulnerable in the action of their careers. Cardi B is another one. Love Cardi. Yeah. She's so vulnerable in how she shows up. And I think that curates community. It builds trust, because people see you as authentic and you're just like me. I don't have to put this mask on. I can see that you were just like me, and you have reached these heights of whatever that looks like.
Yes, because when you say authentic and we have this conversation, I think that within marketing and within brands, when I work with these people, they say authentic so much that it got so washed. And I think vulnerability is a better way to say it. I think if we start to replace, you have to be authentic with you have to be vulnerable, you'll get a little bit further. Because even when you say that you logic everything to death, that was a weird way to say that, no. but for me, after I make something, because I'm the same way, I'm very analytical. I'm a very, very analytical person. So, which is why it's hard for me to post pictures, because I'll look at a picture and be like, well, that's messed up, that's messed up, that's messed up. It's not going anywhere, babe. It's not going anywhere on that website. But when I create, I then look back and I analyze it to death. I analyze my own work to death, and I have this slogan that I say, and I have it written down everywhere, and it's, I try, I learn, I iterate. Ooh. Those are the 3 things you need to
Good,
do.
Yeah.
And it's just a cycle. After you try, you learn from it, and you iterate on it. Like you take what you need, and then you leave the rest.
Yes, that's good.
After you iterate, it's all about, if you need to have like an actual process, because I'm a process person, like very, very bad.
Yeah.
Actually, be calling me a nerd sometimes. Like, you're such a nerd. You're like, the way that you think. Even when I was doing freelance, I still was doing freelance from 9 to 5. Like I still gave structure. I had structure. So that really helped me a lot with understanding how to try new things and how to move forward and how to actually analyze them with grace and see what worked and what didn't work.
I love that. In your vulnerability, do you feel like you have had to pull back or water down out of fear of exposure?
I think about that as, do I actually want people to see this? Like, is this something I may be giving vulnerably, but is this something that I actually want people? Because I come from the thought process of everything I make can go viral. So I'm like, this could be my moment. Is this what I want people to see? Like, this could be it.
Right.
But yes, I can see myself pulling back a little bit from just fear of like exposing myself totally, which I don't think it's a good thing now I think about it.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's not being vulnerable then.
Yeah.
Like, I think if you're gonna be vulnerable, maybe you need to be 100% in, say what you have to say the thought, and then move on. And if it's exposed, it's exposed. Like, as long as it's not, I guess, bad. I don't even know, but even if it is bad, we've seen people say bad stuff and get their money,
right,
and get what they need, and have their moment and their clicks and blah 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 blah. But when I think about it, it's just more of exposure of like what I actually want to show people.
Kind of curating the perception.
Yeah. Yes. Curating the perception of myself and what. But is that being vulnerable?
I don't think so. And I think that's the part of like social media that I think we all, especially millennials, I think if we look generationally, millennials, I think our Instagrams were so curated and everything had to be so polished. Yes. And then Gen Z kind of came in and have more of like, I'm going to show up with my bonnet on and I'm going to just put this camera on and whatever come out will come out. Yes. And y'all going to take it, y'all going to leave it.
That's really vulnerable.
That's vulnerable.
I don't know if I'm like that.
Vulnerable. And so you're not there.
I don't know.
TikTok. Y'all go see her TikTok.
Oh, okay, TikTok. But
TikTok is a different platform. It's giving
TikTok
something.
Is a different thing than Instagram.
Yeah. You feel less exposed on TikTok.
You do, because the interesting thing to me about TikTok is when I create things for TikTok, or I just, because you know what? I know what you're talking about, to be exact. And that was a very, I'm just going to do it. I was very much like, I'm just going to do it. Yeah. I'm laying here, scarf on, what's up? Like, I'm just going to say what I have to say.
But not even just that. I think in general, like, your TikTok is like...
less curated?
It's less curated. I think that's the truth for most of us, though, right? And something about TikTok, it feels like strangers versus, like, your friends or people from... that you've always known that are watching you, that you've already have a perception that they see, you want to maintain it.
Yes.
And then TikTok is more like, I don't know these people.
Because most... But no, you're right, because the algorithm on that social media platform is completely different than Instagram. Yeah. Because Instagram is pushing, and I could be wrong, you let me know. Instagram is pushing your stuff to your people first. Yeah. And then from my understanding, they're testing it, and if it does good enough, then they push it out to other people. Yeah.
They used to.
Okay.
Now they've tried to adapt more of like what TikTok has done. But yes. But that's why a lot of people on Instagram have been complaining of like, ain't nobody seeing my stuff. Because I'm going to be honest, when I go down my feed on Instagram, I see people I don't follow before I see.
Oh.
Depending especially if I'm in the Reels tab. Like if I'm on the Reels tab.
That's true.
I'm really seeing people, that they want to suggest to me, and that sort of thing.
My part with Instagram, I don't know how we got here. My part with Instagram that makes me mad about their Reels versus TikTok is like, TikTok to me right now is currently pushing longer form.
Yeah. Yes.
Versus Instagram, if you take that same reel, because you're trying to use this, you're trying to use this content on different platforms, right?
Yeah,
like you don't want to do too much changing to it. If you take that same reel to Instagram, they'll give you a notification and say, if it's more than 3 minutes, we're not pushing this to new people. This only goes to, which is just like, I don't know what that is, what that looks like, because you see how I talk. My TikToks are more than 3 minutes long.
Right.
They're way more than 3 minutes long.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, what about you?
Yeah, I would say I've definitely have pulled back, shrunk, or kind of almost revised myself in real time in order to, not feel exposed or critiqued or whatever the case may be. And that's when I perform the worst. I feel like it's so hard. And I think that goes back to what I was saying earlier, just around like, oh, you really have to show up and know yourself, or the social media space, it will chew you up, spit you out if you do not have a sense of self. You have to be able to stand on business, say what you mean what you say, and that's it.
Yeah.
And I think for me, because communication, writing is like a core sort of value discipline of mine, the other part to that is like, I'm always like, does that make sense? Do you understand what I'm trying to say?
Oh, that's facts.
Being misunderstood has always been a very vulnerable point to me. If you don't understand what I'm trying to communicate, that's very frustrating for me. Or if you take what I'm saying and, misconstrue it, whatever it is, that is a vulnerable point. So it's very important for me to say it correctly, say it exactly how I want it to come out. And so what that does, though, is that I'm overthinking how I'm going to say it. I'm curating how I'm going to say it. And it leads to an overperformance that's not necessary.
That's so interesting, because I think for me, my vulnerable like pin or whatever, my poking point would be the information being correct. It would be the information being correct and me pronouncing the fashion names correctly.
Yeah.
I will re-record time after time after time if I do not say Marshall the right way. I will re-record. Like, there's been times where I'll pause the video and I know how to say the person.
Yeah.
But I'll like say it right, and then I move on, just because in fashion in general, a lot of these names are French. They're Italian. And there's a certain type of way they pronounce it. And for me, I'm like, I wanna be respected in this industry, so I have to say Prada this certain type of way.
That, yeah.
I have to say these difficult words, like these difficult brand names a certain type of way, and that's always a point that gets me.
Yeah.
I've recently started to get over it and been like, girl, you are American and you're from Kentucky. Like, you have to give yourself some grace.
I'm from Louisville. Like,
how you say it right? Like, I'm from Louisville. Like, I hear people say her all the time.
Right,
like, I just have to own it and just say it and move on. But also, people coming in and like fact checking me.
Yeah.
You see my notebook, like the notebook that I like research out of.
Yeah.
I typically write everything down, and that'll be the same notebook that when I'm filming a TikTok or I have like news that I want to share, I'll open it up and I'll reference that just to make sure my facts are correct. I'm very big on facts.
Absolutely.
Very big on that. Creatives may be at that time where they're starting off, and the first step is trying.
You have to try.
Yeah. So
That's the first step.
What are your footnotes for this episode?
My footnote will have to be really simple today. I will say, when it comes to vulnerability, it's uncomfortable. Growth comes with uncomfortability. And the best tool that you can have to evolve is to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. When you do that, you're on your way to hitting your goals.
I love that. I think my footnote for this episode would be, you, in the same context, you have to try to learn.
Yeah.
That would be it. You have to put yourself out there, because whatever perfection looks like to you, you have to try it first.
Yeah.
Like you have to try and then you learn, try, learn, try, learn, try, learn. And that's the process. And that's how you look up one day and you're extremely talented at this skill. And you're like, oh, how did I get there? It's all just because you started trying. And that's all you need.
I love that.
So, yeah.
And that's on that.
Yes. Oh,
yes.
Thank you guys for coming back for the
season
first
2.
episode.
Thank you so much for coming back and tuning in. Again, I'm Maya.
Oh, I'm Corinea.
And make sure y'all like, subscribe, comment, share, all of the things. Stay with us, stay connected, and we will see you in episode 2. We'll see you in the next one.
Yes, I have one thing. Hold on. Leave 5-star reviews. If it's less than 4, I'll take a 4. I will not take a 3. Leave 5-star reviews. And if you leave a 3-star review, you better tell me why. Leave 5-star reviews.
Why would it ever give 3 stars though?
They're haters. So I would but if you have something critical to say, let me know. But 5-star reviews only. Thank you so much.
Okay, period. All right, love y'all.
Bye.
Mwah.